Rabbi Dee, it's a pleasure to be with you, an honor to be with you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
First of all, our condolences for your loss. Tell us how you and your family are doing right now.
Up and down. So that's to be expected, and moments of tearfulness and strangely moments of joy.
A lot of people were so impressed here in Israel and around the world at your grace during your incredible loss. Where did that come from?
It comes from studying emunah, which is faith, for many years, and actually teaching about it on occasion as well as a rabbi, and understanding that we have to look at the good and not at the bad. And if you look at the good, it's infinite, and if you look at the bad, it's limited. In our case, it was very great, but it is limited.
And what was the reaction after the loss of Lucy and Rina and Maia?
Absolutely incredible, Chris. The whole community gathered around us. We had 10,000 people or more coming to the Shiva, which is the week of mourning. And on the way to the funeral, the streets were lined with people. It must have been thousands of people came out with Israeli flags to greet us and to show support.
And what was your message you mentioned this before in one of your interviews, to US rabbis?
So I had the pleasure of two great US rabbis, Rabbi Efrat Goldberg, Rabbi Shai Shechter, coming from Florida and from New Jersey. And I said to them, when are you going to come to Israel, to live in Israel and bring your communities? Because the ingathering of the exiles is something that has been written about in the prophets, something that we pray for 3 times a day, and they're not coming, particularly from America. So I know that these rabbis feel their role is to be in America as long as there's a community there. But I said, if your community is waiting for you and you're waiting for your community, I said, it's never going to happen. So, you better come here. And Rabbi Riskin, when he came to Efrat from Lincoln Square Synagogue in 1982, he came with 8 families. And now Efrat is over 15,000 people. So I said to them, if you can bring 8 families, and these rabbis could bring 50 families, you could have a community of 20,000 within 10 years.
Yeah. Why did you and Lucy make the decision to bring your family here?
We came here originally when I came to study rabbinics under Rabbi Riskin, and we spent 4 years here, and then we went back to England for 6 years. The plan was to go back for good, but Lucy woke up one morning a year after we'd go back to England and said, we have to buy a house in Efrat, we have to sell a house in England. We've got to bring up kids here because it's the only place to bring up Jewish kids is in Israel. And she was right. It's a place where the kids are brought up by the community, not just by you. Wonderful, wonderful families here, and they make a very good impression on the kids, and they have tremendous values.
What was your experience like living here in Efrat? Or what has been your experience?
It's a beautiful place to be, wonderful neighbors, and the kids particularly. It's a kids' town because most families have 5 kids or so, and the age of the kids was pretty much the same in each neighborhood. And they're literally in and out of the house with their friends the whole time, and they're out in the evenings till late, and we don't worry about them because it's a sort of gated community, so it's perfectly safe.
Yeah, that's probably not the perception many people have about a quote-unquote settlement.
No, well, the impressions are completely wrong when it comes to settlements. We actually share our local Walmart, which is called Rami Levi, with the local Palestinian towns and Bethlehem. So it's Area C, and I buy my tomatoes next to a Palestinian woman in full Palestinian dress, and the workers are a mixture of Jews and Arabs who work together, and that's our reality.
And how did your Palestinian neighbors react to your loss?
I actually received the most emotional WhatsApp messages from my Palestinian friends in tears. I think they felt twice as bad as my Jewish friends, because not only they felt my pain, but they had their own pain that it was caused by a Palestinian. And that was a tremendous pain for them as well. I had them coming into the house here during the Shiva, during the 7 days of mourning, secretly through the back door, coming and visiting me in the back room because they didn't want to be seen by anyone captured on camera.
Can you explain that dynamic? Because a lot of people may not understand that Palestinians may on a personal level want to reach out, but because of this situation, it's very dangerous for them.
So the situation in the Middle East is different to how people perceive it. But as you know, Chris, there's only one country that's actually democratic and free in the Middle East. That's that little green dot, that's Israel. The red countries here have no human rights. These data is from Freedom House, which is the international standard for measuring human rights. So the only free country is Israel. If you blow it up, you can see the Palestinian Authority is red and Gaza is red. So there's really, Lebanon is partially free, so it's yellow. And the rest of the 200 million Arabs in the region live in fascist regimes where they have no freedom of expression, no freedom of religion, and no freedom to vote for their governments. So the reality is very different to how people perceive it. The Palestinians are being oppressed by their leadership, by Hamas and Fatah. They would do anything to be under Israeli leadership, but because of the Oslo Accords, the two have been separated up to now. And that's really caused tremendous tension in the Palestinian society.
Yeah. You were talking about this with CNN 3 times apparently, and one interview with Christian Amanpour described the situation as a shootout between the Palestinian terrorists and your wife and 2 daughters. How did you react to that?
So, of course, we were tremendously upset, I and the kids, to be accused of our family being terrorists. Then we had 2 other interactions, as you say, with CNN, both of which made me feel like I was the terrorist and the terrorist somehow was the victim. And I think this is endemic in the CNN reporting, and so we are planning to take them to court, and the planning for that is currently underway.
And how did your life change after this in terms of being a public spokesman?
My life's changed 180 degrees from being a maths teacher and very sort of quiet and under the radar about 3 months ago. And now I'm frequently being interviewed, and I have a number of different projects that I'm working on. Yeah, I still would never choose to be in this position.
Yeah. Talk about what happened right after the loss of your wife, Lucy.
A couple of interesting things happened. First of all, we were invited to Beilinson Hospital to visit 3 of the recipients. The lady who received Lucy's heart, Lital, was sitting on the chair, and my daughter Karen was listening to her heart through a stethoscope. And that photograph went viral across the world. Apparently, it's only in Israel, or pretty much only in Israel, where they introduced the recipient to the donors. And therefore, although in Israel this is quite common for this type of thing to happen.
A remarkable story. A lot of Christians have seen your story, read your story, mourned with you. How can people be praying? How can Christians be praying for you and your family?
I think they could be praying for shalom. We would appreciate internal shalom for us and for the family, the ability to be able to deal with the conflicting emotions, and also for world shalom as well.
Yeah. What would be your message to Israelis, to people around the world?
So this year, Israel celebrated its 75th anniversary. And I think 75 is a very significant number for Israel, because 25 is 1 generation, 25 years, and 75 is 3 generations. And in Jewish law, when something happens 3 times, it's as if it happened forever. And so Israel's now here 75 years. 3 generations, we're actually here forever. There's no doubt now that Israel is stable, and it's going to last for the next few thousand years without any problem whatsoever. The moment that Israel gets to 75, we break out the box and we become more of a light unto the nations. And I think that's the time we're in now.
And a fulfillment of what the prophet said thousands of years ago?
Absolutely. I think that we see them one by one coming true. The ingathering of the exiles.
Right. Rabbi Dee, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Very much.